participants. Thank you very much for being here today.
Okay, Krishnan, do you want to talk through the preamble? Okay, I've highlighted things a little.
Hello, everybody. We are reaching the beginning of the end, as they say, and so we will be, in this session, discuss the Habitat in Town 2021 resolution and have your inputs, and eventually it'll be edited and it'll be open for inputs for another few more days. I don't know, that'll the secretary will decide if there's any further inputs available for until 1 or 2 days of grace period. And you don't worry much about commas and full stops and kind of things, as long as the main essence is conveyed, it's not contradictory. That's what I think we need to move on. And it's important that all of you who already participate in different groups have come together to read through, understand and accept and dissect and make this resolution, what shall I say, action-oriented one, as Sonia has mentioned in her earlier comments in the beginning of yesterday. And so what we will do, as we agreed upon, we will read section by section. And if there is no comment, then we go forward. Yeah, I mean, is there any comment, just raise your hands, and there are people who sort of understand your hand signal, so we will stop there and get your inputs. We, the participants, first we have what's called a preamble. A preamble is general statement of what is there now. Then comes the operative paragraphs, normally in a resolution. So we, the participants of the second Collingwood Summit, Habitat in Towns 2021, gathered virtually on 7th and 8th of October 7th and 8th, 2021, on the occasion of World Habitat Day in the town of Collingwood and the border southern Georgian Bay area, including Meaford, Grey Highlands, Clearview, the town of Blue Mountains, Wasaga Beach, and the counties of Simcoe and Grey, Canada. Express our ongoing commitment to the New Urban Agenda, NUA, and the realization of the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, SDGs, at the scale of towns, small cities, and Indigenous communities. Straightforward, we can go to the next one. I see no comments. Then we say, while the summit was held virtually, we acknowledge we are working on traditional territories of Indigenous peoples throughout Ontario, Canada, and the world, and in particular the traditional territory of the Anishinaabe, Haudenosaunee, and Ojibwe peoples where the town of Collingwood resides. Forgive my mispronunciation. We are thankful to share in this rich and diverse culture on the global stage as we work together in the spirit of collaboration for a more sustainable and prosperous future. I suppose that's okay too. The intent of Habitat in Towns includes the role of towns and small cities and Indigenous communities as specific and distinct urban entities and a crucial group in the achievement of Sustainable Development Goal SDG 11, which is an inclusive, safe, and resilient urbanism. Okay, overall, more people in the world live in urban than rural settings. In 2020, 56.2% of the world population was urban, and with half of this living in towns and small cities of less than 500,000 inhabitants. The global SDGs will succeed only if they are achieved at the level of towns, small cities, and Indigenous communities, full stop. Human settlements of this size have a key role to play in creating a more harmonized regional development and fostering sustainable urbanism, including a role in accessible and affordable housing, reducing impacts of climate change, creating a variable and prosperous economy, and achieving the SDGs, full stop. Town leaders and residents are the main actors in rural and urban linkages and need to become more prominent in the new urban agenda and its implementation. I suppose it's passed through. Then next one, Habitat in Towns 2021 hosted participants from various sectors, including national, subnational, and local governments, parliamentarians, UN Habitat, and other UN agencies, town, small city, indigenous community leaders, the private sector, academics, municipal associations, community organizations, civil society, and other relevant stakeholders to discuss, agree, and adopt this resolution for promoting sustainable economic, social, and environmental well-being at the scale of towns, small cities, and indigenous communities. It's okay? Then the resolution of Habitat in Towns 2021, this resolution means the Habitat in Towns 2021 resolution aims to build upon last year's resolutions to advance, or you can say last year's resolution to advance, the cooperative goals deliberated during the presentations and discussions of Habitat in Towns 2021. We thank the ministers, mayors, and other elected officials who joined us from around the globe to bring more attention to this summit and to share the urban, economic, social, and environmental challenges and opportunities faced in their countries. We thank UN Habitat, Government of Canada, and the town of Collingwood for providing support and encouragement during the process leading up to and during Habitat in Towns 2021. We thank the many experts and participants who have freely shared their expertise and wisdom. I suppose no one will object to that. We recognize the importance of and rally behind this year's World Habitat Day 2021 with the theme Accelerating Action for a Carbon-Free World. We acknowledge the intersectionality between housing and urban development and achieving a carbon-free world. We will continue to promote, support, and monitor the implementation of the new urban agenda and sustainable development goals at the local level, among other things, through the support of the World Urban Pavilion in the Regent Park. Shall we say Toronto, maybe? We acknowledge the close collaboration with UN Habitat and substantive inputs and guidance. Shall we say Toronto after Regent Park?
Sorry, I didn't catch that one. Can you say it one more time?
Through the support of the World Urban Pavilion in Regent Park, Toronto, Canada. There's many people, there are Regent Park in London too, you know, and then we recognize with the appreciation of the important contribution made by local and indigenous authorities around the world and towns and small cities in particular in the implementation of the new urban agenda, NUA, as an integral part of achieving SDGs, including the effective partnership established between UN Habitat, member states, and local governments in the design, adoption, and implementation of local plans. We acknowledge that towns and small cities, in partnership with indigenous communities, require a dynamic, effective platform to bolster their own voices to work toward sustainable development. We are convinced that towns, small cities, and indigenous communities also have the capacity to lead global initiatives and be proactive, enabling spaces to find solutions to our shared challenges. Okay. Yes, there's a small in there. Yeah. We recognize that the new urban agenda will help to end poverty and hunger in all forms and dimensions, reduce inequalities, ensure access to affordable housing, promote inclusive and sustainable urban growth, economic growth, achieve gender equality, equity, and empowerment of all women and girls to fully harness their vital contribution to sustainable development. Semicolon. Facilitate all citizens, regardless of their socioeconomic status, race, age, faith, gender, and sexual identity, to access the resources and benefits of development. Semicolon again, provide the opportunity for all citizens to participate in civic and potential life and political life, to build a common future and improve human health and well-being. Semicolon again, foster resilience, semicolon, to safeguard cultural and natural heritage and to protect the environment. All civil society needs to be part of the solution to the climate emergency and to reverse the trend of rising inequalities. Okay, no problems here, I think. No hands raised against this, no. In an even broader perspective, SDGs are part of a pathway toward regenerative approaches, and we need to revolutionize to fit our human cultures into the life-sustaining ecosystem functions of places and regions we inhabit. We appreciate the summit as a unique key global gathering for sustainable urban economy and urban resources at the level of towns, small cities, and indigenous communities. We recognize the summit as an important global gathering that serves to strengthen the dialogue and exchange of experiences between local town and small city leaders, indigenous communities, civil society, and the general public from all over the world involved in the implementation of SDGs. No problem here. Only through a global collaboration with collective action can a prosperous urban future be achieved at the local level. So, next page, next section is habitat in towns. Is it okay, Sonia?
Yes, I just was noticing that Rosalind Morrison had put a note in the chat that might be applicable to this, particularly this last comment. She said, given so many uses of the word urban, some thought should be given to ensure those in rural areas see themselves in the picture. And I'm wondering here, in this very last statement, can a prosperous
a rural urban future, or or shall I say, prosperous urban future through rural urban linkages or something?
How about
Does she have any prosperous future in rural and urban settings achieved at the local level?
I would just like to mention that Dearmid has also mentioned, does place work as better or more helpful term than urban?
So how will it then be expressed? A place to go to?
Dermot, if you can, perhaps, I'm just unmuting you, if you can comment on that.
What's your place on this?
Excuse me. Yeah, it's just that as part of the approach in Scotland, we've tended to use the idea of place-based or place-driven to address the island, the rural and the urban context. So I don't know if it's applicable in all our contexts, but that's the approach we've taken.
In this particular sentence, just need your assistance here. Only through a global collaboration with collaborative action can a prosperous place-based future be achieved.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah. That's it. Yeah.
Fazila Dadvar mentions human settlements.
Human settlements is very general. I mean, human settlements is it refers only to settlements. I don't know. I mean, any comment on that? How will it then sound? Don't remove what he said. I mean, just can SDGs and NUA be achieved? Why SDGs and NUA? Because we're talking about prosperous place-based future. So we are not talking here about SDGs and NUA, yeah?
Then we'd have to decide that we wanted our future to be prosperous, and I don't know if any of us are money oriented. We are money oriented because all of us need money to live, but is prosperity the
prosperity is at different levels, you see. Spiritual prosperity.
Jeffrey Barber suggests perhaps prosperous and sustainable.
Yeah, okay. Prosperous and sustainable, place-based future be, yeah, okay. Does it take care of your concern, Sonia? You don't like money?
I can live with that one. Thank you.
Okay, all right. Thanks. Is it okay for everybody? Yeah.
Yes, we can move on.
Move on. Yes, habitat in towns. It's good that we, sort of really dissect the sentences properly. Yes. Habitat in Towns 2021 will continue to advance in the priorities, objectives, and projects identified by Habitat in Towns 2020, and participants are in general and non-binding agreement to promote the concepts and approaches as follows. Yeah. And this we have to, anyway, I don't want to complicate this now. In the earlier sentence, we say we are adopting this, yeah? So, I mean, I suppose they don't contradict. Okay. Are you okay with this, Sonia?
I am.
Yeah, fine. So housing context matters, yes. The towns and small cities in developing countries have the highest variance in both positive and negative population growth, okay? They're also the most in need of housing finance options. Solutions must be relevant and address their own context, needs, and requirements. Okay? Any more addition to the context? No. Shared action. It's increasingly apparent that shortages of housing are affecting all towns and cities and is seen as a challenge that spans across all regions. While the housing crisis is a global problem, it is the localities and regions that are experiencing the harsh realities of lack of housing. Increasing housing supply will require efforts at all levels of governments, full stop. New housing supply must also address the growing demand for the entire housing spectrum. That then is explained, sort of hyphenated, not just government, but how do we involve business, non-profits, including social finance tools? Are these questions or are these statements?
Krishnan, if I may, this was during our session.
Yeah.
And these are our bullet points because it was found in our session that the shared action was, and Dearmid, help me out here, was kind of the main context for the rest of our principles and recommendations to follow. So we had probably about a half-hour discussion on this concept of shared action. And I think these are the ideas that came from it, and there's probably some more work that's going to require to build out this concept of shared action. Dearmid, please, if you have any additions.
You spelled out or polished a bit more because these are not just government, but how do we involve business? So what we say, further work on develop these. Yeah, so we'll do it as homework or what?
I mean, unless we want to, I feel this bullet might take 20 minutes to put together.
Yeah. So I wonder, Kristen,
hyphenated points. Yeah, I mean, so how does the assembly here feel? Any objections for us to take back and polish it to make it in the resolution form? Yeah. So we support the ideas for shared action and further work to develop them. Yeah. That means that is the statement from Sonia. And so Alex, since you are in the group, maybe I think we have to sort of make them into sentences. Yeah.
So Krishnan, I'm happy to help with that. And for colleagues, sorry, I was struggling with the unmute button there. So sorry about that, Alex. We, as Alex said, we focused a lot on the shared action bit. I think that breaks down into 3 parts. The first part is around the definition of the outcomes that we're trying to achieve. So that's the first part. The second part then is about building the conditions for success. And then the third part is defining the roles and responsibilities of the participants. So those 3 parts, the sharing the definition of outcomes. Secondly, building the conditions for success. So governments have jobs to do in facilitating, enabling, and then making sure that things work. And then the third part is just the responsibilities of the different actors. So with colleagues' permission, Alex and I will turn those into sentences and then remove them back, if that's okay.
So if that is acceptable to the people here, we will, in all humbleness, give responsibility to Dearmid and Alex, and they will come back to us, within the course of the days that we have providing as a grace period for finalizing the resolution. Yeah, is it okay? Ilda, Sonia, Reza, others in the assembly here, they agree to it? If so, then we democratically move forward. Next one.
Yeah, I agree with that. Although I think if there's anybody that's sitting here that has a particular concern with one of the bullet points, this would be a good time to articulate it. I'll just go up here in case there's any more. No, that's the full set of bullet points here on your screen. So feel free to comment, and otherwise I would agree.
Agreed. Once, twice. Third, no, I think it's agreed, yeah. So we go forward. Is it okay?
Yes.
I can't do again, it says. Reza is muted. I don't know who is muting him.
I got you, Reza.
I have a suggestion. Please unmute everyone because we want to share our comments.
Yeah, okay, go ahead.
Yes,
Reza.
I don't have that control. Shelby, can you please unmute or
Thank you so
Ozan or
much.
Evan? Thank you.
So Reza, what's your comment now?
Just I want to say agree.
Okay, fine. Wonderful, wonderful, great. I thought silence was the agreement anyway. The next one. Pace of action. Pace of action. Governments have a key leadership role to identify the community's vision for the future through inclusive and collaborative process, full stop. Governments must also act as facilitators and create the necessary conditions for success. Governments have the responsibility to create conditions for creating pace of action. Governments can enable action and act as facilitators, open doors, and step aside for others to do the action. By governments, do we mean local governments or governments at all levels?
I think that second paragraph is repeat of the first.
Yeah.
You could delete.
Okay. So here, government, this is also from your group, Alex?
Yes, the next 15 hours.
Okay. So I think shall we then go through it, and if there are inconsistencies, it is to be polished, yeah? By governments, do we mean central government or regional government or local government, yeah? So our governments at all levels. Yeah, anyway, governments at all levels, yeah. Okay. Then is a housing industry has not kept pace with the rapid developments of technology. There already exists a number of innovative and technology solutions that can contribute to solutions of sustainable housing and housing finance that are yet to be housing finance that have yet to be adopted. Okay, the technology solutions that reduce carbon emissions, increase efficiency in building practices, and innovative financing tools should be further explored with emphasis on options that are scalable and replicable. My only concern here is that we are combining two things here. One is technology, other one is finance. So sustainable housing and housing finance that are yet to be adopted. So first we're talking about innovative solutions, yeah? For technology, or we are talking both technology and finance, isn't it? Or we can live with it.
I suppose, can we pull it out? Can we say innovative financing solutions as a separate one?
Because it says, because there are two things here, technological development and finance, it says. We keep technology as one, finance as the other. Yeah.
Should be separate. It's important fact.
Yeah, you know. We're not talking about financing technology per se. We're talking about financing housing and also supporting new technologies. Yeah. Okay. And so it's a repetitive. You're repeating. Okay, that's fine. On financing solutions. Then so are we through? The two paragraphs of similar wordings are being changed now, yeah?
If I just remove finance from the above.
First one, yeah. Technological level, that's fine. Okay. Yeah.
Sorry, innovative under finance. Innovative financing tools should be further explored with an emphasis on options that are scalable and adoption, with an emphasis on adoption and on options that are scalable and replicable. So the point here is that the stuff exists, it's just not everyone's using it. So instead of spending resources on new things, just do the thing.
So now to my backyardism, the next one, yeah. Widening awareness. We acknowledge that the growth of NIMBYism, which is creating barriers to new housing supply, densification, and housing to meet all demands of the housing spectrum. NIMBYism must be addressed in an inclusive manner that includes government, developers, and local community, full stop. Importantly, the community should not be seen as an enemy, but as a stakeholder with legitimate options, which is part of the development process. Transparency, inclusion, collaboration, and trust should be the basis for new housing developments in local communities. So is NIMBYism sort of a more or less accepted term globally, or what people think? Some people like their backyards anyway. So so I suppose it's okay, yeah? Yeah, because but what we are saying is that how can you address NIMBYism in an inclusive manner? If you do inclusive manner, it's not NIMBYism anymore. So NIMBYism must be done away with, or NIMBYism sort of, you know, what is that? Sort of, we need to abhor NIMBYism, whatever it is, whatever you want to say, you know. NIMBYism must be what shall I say? One should be, what's it? Okay. NIMBYism must be avoided, yeah?
Well, I think it's more about building the awareness for all community members that housing impacts all of us, regardless of whether we already have housing. So however we want to phrase that, that awareness, communications plan, data sharing needs to be done.
Okay, all right. Because here we're talking about people themselves, they want, you know, so they would rather put their rubbish to the neighbor's backyard than on one's own backyard. That's what it is. I mean, so I mean, how do we sort of address this? Raising awareness is important, and also government say not in my local government, it should be in somebody else's kind of a thing. You know, like they're taking refugees. Many places they say we don't want to take refugees. Maybe next other municipality may take it. That's a kind of an NIMBYism, yeah. So I mean, this so we need to address this. I mean, it's important, yes. Okay. I want to continue the discussion. You know, we are running short of time. So then, can we, if we are done away with the backyard stuff, then we go to the emphasis. There's from Rosalind Morrison says, where would this fit? Housing strategies need to include achieving SDGs. So keep aware of this particular para. Come back to his, we'll come back to it when we talk about SDGs, okay? And please remember that to remind us. And designing for sustainability, we emphasize, not emphasis, we emphasize, there's an E is missing, that building and planning codes are our emphasis. We emphasize that building and planning codes should address sustainability standards such as environmentally friendly public participation, circular economy, and walkable communities. We acknowledge that increasing requirements for sustainable housing, such as safety and environmental standards, also comes with increasing housing costs. Housing solutions should consider how to mitigate costs associated with increasing standards to ensure housing is attainable for everyone, by everyone. Efforts should be made to reduce red tape for housing developments. Yeah, this also was discussed. I think it is. That's right.
I wanted to suggest a change here. It says, it used to say address. I really feel this is a require.
Yeah, require, yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay. And I have a question for the authors. It says housing solutions should consider how to mitigate costs. And that to me sounds like your government should pay for it. And as a representative of the government, that's not mitigating costs. Mitigating costs is reducing costs overall. And I just wanted to make sure people weren't interpreting your taxes that mitigate cost meant taxes is.
Yeah, I mean, this also would have implications for local governments and housing policies in developing countries, where if you have a high standard, a standard that is set in a country with a lot of capability for technology and industry, if you wanted that put as a standard in smaller city in a developing country, so cost comes with it. How that be subsidized, I mean, so housing should consider the need for subsidies, if any, to mitigate costs. Yeah, I mean, because otherwise one would end up in the kind of situation that the good standards will be adopted only by few. But you're saying it's a requirement.
Is there something that, sorry, Christian, is there something about the design of housing solutions should consider how to achieve increasing standards without excessive costs, so that we're placing the responsibility on the promoter to consider the design?
Yeah, because everybody need not buy a Tesla. You can have an electric car that's as good as Tesla, but it's an electric car, So the point is that is where I think the kind of things that there'll be different, and because there may be local solutions, traditional solutions of not having air conditioning, for example, traditional solutions for heat reflection or solar energy, whatever it is. So I mean, it's a place specific again. So I think it's important what you said. You can repeat that once again.
The design of housing solutions should consider how to achieve the sustainable development goals whilst mitigating or money costs associated with achieving the increasing standards.
Yeah, yeah. So Sonia was a bit skeptical on this government having to foot the bill. So
I am now comfortable. I know governments and taxes need to be a part of this. I just didn't want to be that the statement was interpreted to be, and we will just pay any extra cost with taxes. It is it's something we need to do together to mitigate. And I'm happy with this.
Okay, great. Because you don't create new class divisions, standard houses will be built only by people who can afford it, kind of a thing. So principles now, invest meaning into housing as a human right. Yeah, housing is a human right and catalyst for all fundamental rights. A secure place to live for human dignity, physical and mental health, and overall quality of life is a universal need. We recognize that collectively society has not always translated this right into meaningful action. As leaders, we commit to agreeing a shared meaning to the embracing this right as a principle for policy engagement, investment management in housing. So are we all leaders or participants? I don't know. Principles, everybody's happy with it, we can go. What is meaningful action? That's a good question. And of course, some are meaningless too. I mean, this is how do you want to change that thing? Translate this right into action, or not in the reality? Translated this into a reality. That's what it is. Yeah, that's what it is. So you have got the human rights, but human rights is not existing. It's not there. So we say right into reality. Into a reality. Next, right to meaningful action says that meaningful can be changed. Yeah, you got it, Sonia?
Meaningful. Sorry, I'm missing meaningful here.
Saying meaningful into action or into reality. Yeah. Okay. Everybody agree with it, Rosalind?
Yep.
Housing plays a crucial role. Right housing, right place, sustainable communities. Housing plays a crucial role in community well-being and a vibrant community life. Housing must be sustainable, inclusive, welcoming. Close to community amenities, physically accessible and affordable. Okay, including a diversity of built forms, again, zero carbon footprint, and tenures that offers people with diverse life experiences, backgrounds, ages, and needs the choice in where they live, work, and play. You're even competing with the UN drafters here now, you know? So it is a long sentence. Do you think people understand what it is, what it says? Is okay? Sort of experts here, if you give your nod, then we go further. Okay, fine. The priority of housing is elevated by the intersectionality between it and the rapid urbanization of towns and small cities, climate change and climate emergency, pandemic and increasing inequalities and inequities across the globe. Housing for all. Inclusive housing means housing options for people from all walks of life, all backgrounds, and all income levels. This represents people of all ages, races, ethnicities, abilities, sexual orientation, and gender expressions, full stop. Attention should be given to the needs of those in vulnerable situations, women, children, persons with disabilities, older persons, and poor communities. Across the world, towns and small cities, indigenous communities, LGBTI, one Q is missing, people, youth, and other minorities are more likely to face evictions and homelessness. Yeah. Is it okay? Yeah. Better outcomes, shared responsibility. Sustainable housing includes housing finance, and banking sector should play a crucial role in post-pandemic recovery to build back better and strong. All levels of government must work together to establish a clear plan for ensuring delivery of sustainable, affordable housing. That 1, 2 is too many. Government must work together. Yeah, that's what it is. Immediate action informal settlements. The Collingwood World Summit 2021 recognizes interim housing projects as a vital iteration in the development of informal settlements and slum areas. Lifting the standard of living in these communities is essential to reach SDG 11. These projects, as an immediate action, will help some of the most vulnerable groups of people globally. Build on the benefits of small places. Small places are relationship spaces. We can build networks, trust, and collaboration for impact quickly in small places, building on local knowledge, local partnerships, local challenges. In small places, we expect collaboration as a way we do things. We commit to building on the opportunity of small places to mobilize local resources for impact by investing in building skills for collaboration, committing to collaboration as a principle for all, and demonstrating the art of the possible. Do people understand what small places are? We're talking about small cities and towns.
I have no idea what small places are, and I don't understand that section at all.
Yeah, so it is something big, I suppose. I mean, what it is, small places then. Can anyone expound on this?
Yeah, it was to do with small towns and small cities, as opposed to a large metropolitan area. So within towns and small cities, we're able to mobilize people quicker. So that was the purpose of that. And given that is the case, collaboration is the way that things happen, and that gives us an advantage over bigger cities.
Okay, that makes it clear. Fine. Yeah. Fine.
Okay, I just thought you meant like physical small spaces, like if people sat in 10 by 10 rooms instead of much larger rooms, they would get along better. But I totally understand that. Thank you.
Because he had this overarching definition of place instead of urban or rural. We agreed on that. So, but this, of course, needs a bit more explanation. Yeah, that's fine. Mm-hmm. Okay. Perfect. And nature stewardship and innovation. Our inheritance of diverse identities, histories, built assets, and natural assets are a resource for community building. We commit to making more the service assets, and where are we now? Cities, that is small places, yeah? Assets and resources we already have to support opportunities to live well locally for all. We commit to invest in learning, promoting and encouraging innovation in the methods, resourcing, and environmental implications of housing. Is it okay? Then include all people as partners for change. Reducing inequalities and ensuring no one is left behind are integral to achieving the UN Sustainable Development Goals. Or the goals are we talking about goal 11 only? Or I think we're talking about all the goals, isn't it?
All the goals.
Yeah, that's right. We commit to include people and communities as partners in shaping and delivering housing for all. Recognize the importance of participation by lived experience in local housing decisions. And we commit to an inclusive, coordinated, and accessible communication strategy with our communities to make the opportunity of participation and influence accessible and meaningful, reciprocal as a process of sharing, learning, and growing. Does it have a meaning then here? I suppose it's okay, isn't it?
These all make sense, but they're so overarching.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm lost.
It's a high level of goal, yeah? What is your
on that
suggestion?
point, on that point, Sonia, I agree. And I suppose with the consent of colleagues on the housing bit, we went through a lot quickly. So we'd be happy to rationalize.
Please.
So in addition to the bullet points that we committed to rationalize, because there's some duplication and we would reduce it down. So we feel that the overarching, the two overarching are shared action and urgency. So they're the two key principles. We'll rationalize to that and pick on some of the principles. So if colleagues are happy with the overarching bits in general, then we can consolidate on that basis to those two things. Okay.
Good. Yeah. Otherwise, you end up saying, you know, we all should be happy. We all should not fight with each other. We all should agree on everything. That becomes a very general statement, you know. So it needs to be sort of more concrete. I agree. Then if you can look at it later and sort of tighten it and you know, give it a better what shall I say, vision. We recognize that inclusion in local decision making on housing and placemaking is crucial to building inclusive, sustainable, thriving communities. We recognize that the different and diverse forums for engagement, recognize the opportunities, page 8, and benefit of social media as a tool of engagement. And we acknowledge that this forum can be detrimental as well as positive as means of constructive engagement. Okay, we commit to agreeing shared principles for fair forums for community engagement to build and sustain society through sustain society value through housing. So how do we link the social media with the housing here? Does it come out clearly? Or we can leave it as it is for a later redaction or kind of tightening up by the people? Yeah, okay.
With your consent, I think we would bring that into the consolidation piece. Yeah.
Please. Okay. If everybody agrees to it, then we give our power of attorney to these people. Yeah, that's fine. And then we go to recommendations. That's the important part here. And please listen to this carefully. We commit to change the rules of the game. We commit to putting local outcomes derived authentically with local communities at the heart of our collective housing decisions. And we commit to shaping our process to start with these outcomes and realize the benefits of collaboration, strengthened by commitment to accountability and shared responsibility. This is again repetition of the earlier sentences. Yeah, we commit to need-driven investment, informed by the right to local data, captured authentically and inclusively, with intentional engagement on issues of gender, race, sexuality, and other community needs. Other community needs. All these community needs. Engagement on issues and other community needs. Okay. We commit to facilitating collective leadership around shared outcomes, agreeing shared priorities of action, support by appropriate indicators, resources, and routes to impact. We commit to setting an expectation of collaboration across policies, across communities, and across sectors as the way to do business, with shared commitment to shared responsibility to create places for people to live well. And we commit to first make the best of the resources and assets we already have to achieve what we need, enabled by local innovation at the best and shared knowledge on sustainable development before we prioritize the new build and new investment. We commit to ensure that there's a shared process of evaluation outcomes and shared accountability on performance to ensure that the need and ambitions of communities frame all we do, inform the learning about how we can improve. And to do that, we commit to capturing and using the right local data with best skills for the most impact. Is it okay? It's a long para. I mean, I suppose it says a lot. It's important, but I think do we keep it as it is? Sonia?
It feels like a lot. So I guess again, back to the principles, but consolidate the principles.
Yeah, please.
And it feels
That's
like
what
this
it
needs
is.
to,
Because
this needs to
as we have
break.
said, if people don't want to put this resolution in a shelf and keep quiet for 1 year until they wake up next year, if they want to use it, we need to have a more consolidated kind of statement so that people can use it again and again as the purpose is supposed to be. Yeah. So I'm glad that yeah, Sonia.
I was just going to say that the idea of the recommendations, and I'm just going to go to a different set of the document, which is in the appendix here for housing. The recommendations are actually supposed to be here in the appendix. And the idea was that it was what is the actionable items, who's going to do them, and where are they going to get resources to do them. And when I go to what we just read out, sorry, I'll just go, I'll have to scroll back up. It reads a lot like a principle or something, or maybe it's just very broad. So I'm not, in fact, it's elegantly written. It's strong. It reads a lot like the way we did the recommendations last year. So I sort of end up with the same comment as Krishnan, which is nothing wrong with it, but there's nobody here who's been pointed to do something and to specifically do it in the next year, which we were hoping to evolve toward, knowing we wouldn't get all the way there. So no concerns as such, just if we had more time, I'd love to figure out who was doing what and who we could track through the year that's really making these things happen.
So again, I think that what we would like to offer is that we will take this, refer to the table and break it down in a bit more detail. So in the next couple of days, with your consent, we would feed it back. On this bit, I think this is partly about role for government at all levels. So that's the who, and then we would break it down. So with your consent, we would break this down into smaller bits, link it to the table, and get more specific.
Please, that would be immensely helpful.
I would be deeply grateful for the late night work you and your team might spend on that, because I think it would be really worth it, and I've greatly appreciated.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, Dermot.
Yeah. And yes, some polishing took fun. Manage land and assets for good. We recognize, what do we recognize? The need to use tax, existing policy and enabling levels under the control of leaders. And where necessary, fiscal and tax. Can you hear me?
I can, but I think we skipped a paragraph because I moved this page at the wrong time.
Okay, sorry, that is right. Manage lands and assets for good, yeah? We recognize the importance of land, assets, infrastructure, and untapped resources to shape accessible and appropriate housing choices for sustainable, fair, and thriving communities. We recognize the importance of community land trust, non-profit corporations, and community focused land and asset portfolios to enable housing for good. We commit to shaping the local rules of the game for housing investment to be more collaborative, more inclusive, more outcome focused, and we commit to exploring opportunities of taking land and assets out of the speculative market to enable more and more community-led housing. That's the main point here. So it's not a speculation, it should be a public good. That's what came out of the discussion all the time. So this again needs a bit of tightening up. I don't know if people agree to it, so we can give the polishing job to our colleagues. What do you think? Rosalie, you have any comments? You're looking at it very intensely.
I think Dermot's going to do a great job of editing.
Okay, great. And you can always consult us as necessary, during the journey. Yeah, fine, excellent. Discretionary use of land leadership tools. We recognize the need to use tax, existing policy, and enabling levers under the control of place leaders. And where necessary, new fiscal and tax levers to create a fair context for the distribution of housing in our places. To support fair, sustainable, and inclusive communities. Okay, then all the other things are now struck out. Page 9. Is it?
Yes.
Okay.
On our way down.
We can go further.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, that is all new. All fine. That makes our job easier because everything
Yes,
is.
we'll skip a few pages here. If I'd realized, I didn't notice, I could have done this before.
Yeah. So example of wise people's statements. What is it? Examples of good, best, wise practices, successful projects and studies. Toronto's region park development. Yeah. Designing dignity, interim housing in Cape Town. So these are examples. So what are the recommendations? Recommendations that will come later?
Yes, it will come later. I
Okay.
believe that Dearmid
Yeah.
and his team will readjust it, correct? And place it into the recommendation table. So we can move on to the next theme.
Yeah, sorry to saddle you with all these things, Raymond. I suppose it's okay, yeah? Thanks, lovely. That's fine. Yeah. And so now we have urban data, assessment and technology, principles, high level points. I don't like the word bullets again. A healthy, large region has a network of all sizes of cities and human settlements, with small intermediate cities as linkages, essential nodes for scale growth, and the places where the lion's share of unavoidable urban growth will occur. If and as urban populations increase globally by 2.5 billion over the next 30 years, is that an acceptable statement? Principle? And are these intermediate cities and small and are they linkages only, essential nodes, or do they have a right to exist by themselves?
Well, it does say linkages, they're linkages, essential nodes. So I don't know if that's enough.
Yeah, it's okay. Okay. Yeah, fine. All right. All sizes and the lines are unavoidable. This data, I think it's okay. Towns, small cities, and indigenous communities are falling behind in the essential capacity to harvest and process data, measure performance that helps with decision making to the point where it is impossible in many cases. It includes data, digital technologies, including security, ways of working, people, and innovation, and the funding to deliver these. Acceptable? There's somebody wrote something on the chat. Anyway, so then we have a widely used and consistent global index to measure overarching goals such as UN Urban Monitoring Framework, formerly UN Habitat SDGs Initiative, Communities Prosperity Index. Will allow comparison and ability for us to learn from each other. However, there will be local variations in indicators and priorities, as each community's residents and stakeholders must be proactively engaged in what is measured and understand it, such that the information can be used to support the comfortable and uncomfortable decisions necessary to improve. So fine. What it says is that we need a common but differentiated sort of index framework, yeah? So I suppose it's acceptable because it has to be, not one size fits all. It has to be relevant to local conditions. I think it's acceptable then. I don't see any. So if we need, we can go back to UN Habitat and say if I suppose they agree with us. Is there anyone from Habitat here in this group? No. And I think it's okay.
Robert was in the first meeting.
Okay, Robert.
And
yeah,
that
okay,
was,
okay.
we did talk about how we need to prioritize things to meet the local, the local needs.
Okay, that's good. The resulting and complementary data and assessment support very important decisions and policy adoption, including affordable inclusive housing, diversity inclusion, Indigenous priorities, sustainable and resilient infrastructure, sustainable transportation modes, climate change resilience, energy and resource efficiency, inclusive green and public spaces, a viable local economy, supporting the due diligence needed for development bank investments and allocation of community-based funds, holding inclusive discussions to identify sometimes difficult political commitments and building accountability, show what is needed and enable us to render possibilities or visions and engage others, for example. And what is, for example, covered commerce opportunities for vendors who cannot afford rental premises, unscripted informal physical spaces in small towns to increase resilience, urban agriculture, food system, rural villages, other policies that increase resilience. Okay, so only thing I'm possibly, I don't know, it's not the right place to say. What about the indigenous and traditional knowledge, use of that, yeah? Is it somewhere else in the statement? Have we mentioned anywhere else?
Sorry, you said Indigenous?
Yeah, indigenous and traditional knowledge. Because very often traditional knowledge is lost in this technological maze. So sometimes it is proved to be, also interesting in the modern context as well.
Actually, there is a spot for that, which I think
Okay,
will
yeah,
fit.
okay.
It will fit somewhere. I will remember it when we get to the
Yeah,
to the
maybe
action.
public participation or something, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, anyway, we'll look at that. Data must be able to be aggregated on a larger area up to the nation level, okay. And also to be disaggregated to the smaller city, town, indigenous community, and 20-minute neighborhood levels, okay? Yes, something. Can we participate in the joke? And so what is this one now? Examples of good best practices, widespread successful projects and studies. Sdgs COVID research initiative, including rural areas, University of Gulf. So we then listed.
I wonder, Krishnan, there's quite a lot here of these. These were all from the presentations of the folks. There's actually, it goes all the way to letter L, and most of them, anyone who has comments are more than welcome to make them, or for that matter, to suggest others. But I don't know if we need to read them all out. I'd be happy if you did, but if you're tired of reading,
no. So the only thing we need to say is that, for example, who is Purnima Dore? Who is Robert Ndugwa? And so maybe we have UN Habitat's Liz Deacon. So maybe you should just say who they are, yeah? So that people will, contact exactly. If they want to go back to them, it'll be easier.
So, sorry, Krishnan. Do we want to appendices these as well?
Okay.
There's
good idea.
A lot here.
I think it's a good idea. Sonny, don't you think so? We can make it as an appendix. Is that okay?
Yes, that's fine.
Yeah, okay. Then we go to...
If I was fully having my druthers, I'd move all of these best practices to the appendix, but I might actually move the actionable items into the document.
Excellent, excellent. Good idea. Absolutely, absolutely. That's what it is. So we stop at L, is it? It's not up to Z, no? Okay.
It doesn't go to Z, it stops at L. And as an advertisement, there's some exceptionally good stuff to read if you're interested in this topic in that list.
And this also, in a way, it's good that it gives outsiders the kind of depth and the reach of things we have discussed in this 2 days, It's good that it is there as an appendix, absolutely. Recommendations accessible, then is a regional and global connectivity. So recommendations come later, is it?
Yes, they're in the appendix, but I could go there right this minute if you'd like. I can.
That's fine. Yeah. Okay, that's fine.
There's the recommendations.
So these are the recommendations for theme 2, urban data assessment and technology.
Yeah. Is everybody happy with it? We have 18 people now left in the gathering, so we don't want to lose many more. So I think we
34, Krishnan, 34.
yeah, 34 is okay. Okay, that's good. That's good.
I could mention these very quickly because I'm familiar with them, if that would be helpful.
Please do.
Okay, so I think there's about 6 of them in a nutshell. One is to approach the Federation of Canadian Municipalities to look at their work and advocate for pilots that meet our needs. There is a commitment by Dr. Olga Vorkanova to organize a meeting between a Russian municipality and the central government on data opportunities and ongoing collaboration, which we hope to talk about next year. We're looking to invite Stats Canada and/or the Federation of Canadian Municipalities to speak here next year. We thought that all attendees, we would encourage to write letters or sponsor proposed resolutions calling upon national governments to include in censuses information that will support towns, priority indicators related to the SDGs with the ability to disaggregate to the town or Indigenous community level. And then we were looking at to implement the UN Global Urban Monitoring Framework in groups of areas, and Collingwood is suggesting that we work with some local stakeholders to do so. We're really interested in some work going on in Scotland and Chile, where people are taking qualitative assessments like the UN type frameworks and complementing them with qualitative input from residents, and we're hoping to follow and hear more about those projects. We're looking at an online listing of training for people working with data, and we've suggested there was an excellent idea of think tanks or advisory groups to support folks who are looking to use data, and there was a particularly mention of community foundations and their vital signs reports and others who could be engaged. And I think that's it in a nutshell. Thank you. So if you, I'll go back.
Yeah, thanks again. So we go back to the main text.
I think
Yes.
This one.
Public participation or regional global connectivity, yes.
Yes,
Only
number
through
3.
are we, is the correct one, yeah?
Yes, this is
Yes.
the third of the 4.
Yeah, fine, excellent. Regional global connectivity, only through the principles, only through cooperation and collaboration can we truly realize the full potential of our towns, small cities, and Indigenous communities. Town Leaders Global Network for SDGs, we commit to establishing the Town Leader Global Network toward achieving SDGs at local scale of towns, and collaborate with Indigenous communities and help them feature more prominently in economic, social, environmental, global agendas. Here, didn't we agree on this last year?
Yes, this was a 2020 reaffirmation that's presented here.
Okay, that's fine. So that's fine. So that means it's a continuation of last year's resolution. That's fine. Excellent. That means we have to sort of, keep the act together now. We recognize the importance of sharing resources and providing support from town to town and country to country. Municipal leaders from towns, small cities, and Indigenous communities have the capacity to influence national policies and constitute strong advocacy and global network for sustainable urbanism, economic prosperity, and achieving the SDGs. Okay, innovation towns and regional economic growth. Towns, small cities, and Indigenous communities play a key role in connecting urban settlement areas and rural spaces, as these are inextricably linked economically, socially, and environmentally, and cannot be dealt with in isolation from one another. The recognition of this urban-rural continuum also highlights how partnerships, collaboration, and unity in action can yield dividends for all people, regardless of age, gender, ethnicity, economic, social background, or whether or not they live in rural urban areas. So this in a way takes care of the whole, what's the universality of living in urban rural areas, yeah? So regional innovation ecosystems consist of different stakeholders and bonds between them. Mapping these elements on a town to city, and town to global perspective will make the towns capable of playing a unique key role in the national context. Extensive collaboration with urban innovation districts and innovative towns is necessary to promote regional growth. Okay, so only thing possibly maybe it is not the right place to bring that in. We talk about town to town, town to cities, town to globe. We forget the other part of the world that is rural. People talk about rural. Is there any way, because innovations also take place in rural areas as well. I mean, I'm not saying we're discussing rural areas here, but regional innovation ecosystems, yeah. So I'm just, that's fine, exactly. So that takes care of it. We encourage the Ontario provincial government, regional governments, and Canadian federal government to support the town of Collingwood as an SDG town in the World Urban Pavilion Region Park. The town of Collingwood is a world-class destination that can undertake sustainable town development initiatives based on upon global best practices in collaboration with surrounding towns, communities, and local Indigenous people in the southern Georgian Bay. The town of Collingwood as an SDG town will demonstrate and share the results from 10 key pilot projects as practical examples for a sustainable and replicable approach to sustainable town and small city development, which will include, rather than promote growth, shall we say, it could manage growth. That is said in para 5, in point 5. When you go up a bit, 5, it says manage growth. Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll say now. So then there are 10 projects that it's being talked about. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if we need to read all of those out,
Yeah.
but just from a Collingwood perspective, there's probably a couple of folks on the line. We're
Yeah.
doing our best to push all of these 10 forward, but we do have some capacity and funding challenges. And I would like to say that there's a lot of Collingwood mentioned in this document, of course, being a partner here, but I feel like globally we're one of, 100 or 200 partners. And I just wanted to recognize the inputs of everybody that's been on the lines and how interested we are in what everyone else is doing as well. Thank you.
Yeah.
And Krishnan, if I could just jump in.
Please, Mayor.
Just to pick up on Sonia's point, if you can go up a little higher on this, because this has been subject of discussion. So it just says the town of Collingwood as an SDG town will demonstrate and share results from 10 key pilots. We're working very hard on making these pilots a reality. I'm not sure though I like the obligatory, certainly we would. So
or hopes to demonstrate, or so is a plans to demonstrate or something, or intends.
Intends, yes.
Yeah.
And you might say intends in partnership with other stakeholders.
Exactly.
Because we're happy.
Absolutely. Yes.
We're happy to work with all sorts.
Yeah, because you might need to work with Habitat on this, for example, SDG towns. You
Yes.
need to work with the other Statistics Bureau of Statistics Canada, for example. The number of partners that you might need to be working with. Absolutely.
Great. Okay. Thank you.
I'm just wondering if these 10 could be evolved so that they're informed and enhanced by the discussions at this year's summit.
Okay. How will you add that one?
It's really a question for Brian and Sonia, I think.
Well, I think we can say that Sonia's typing well in there, but based on what we've learned from this year's summit.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. And just a small question, Mayor Saunderson, you are advised by this council as a kind of a committee, established looking at the housing and SDGs, isn't it? So that also part of this project, or what's a different thing, is it?
Our Attainable Housing Task Force, is that what you're referring to, Krishnan?
Yeah.
Certainly that's going to come to council and could inform certainly how we move forward with item number 1. Yes.
Exactly. Yes. Fine. Lovely. Great. Okay. And then, so because there already is some basis for what we are talking here, that's what it is. And then, what is that? United Future Lab, first project to evaluate and manage all 26 municipalities in the region. Which region are we talking about? In a region on the SDGs, yeah? Okay. Does it say what it is? In a region on the SDGs? Lab Norway, yeah, that's fine. Lab Norway, yeah, no, that's fine. Okay, okay, that's fine. In a region in Norway, we can say municipality in a region in Norway. On, yeah, that's what it is. That is our Gabriel's pet project. Then the MIT stakeholder model for innovation ecosystems. This could be applied with the following perspective: town to town, town to city, and town to global. And this, what is E? What is this summit?
Oh, this summit was an example of a good practice.
Okay. You want to say
That's
that?
Habitat in
Yeah.
Towns 2021.
Yeah.
Very
This
great
summit
point,
has been a
Sonia.
living
Very
example.
great.
Yeah, the Habitat in Towns summit. Yes. Lovely. Okay. And
Krishan, you
so-
disagree with this point?
Reza, you have anything to add here? You object to this. Why do you object to this, Reza?
No, we all agree about it.
Do you
A
agree
great
with me?
example of a good best practice to move forward collaboratively, I thought.
Absolutely. Lovely. It's good that it appears here, yeah? Then Scotland Town's partnership, it's okay?
No?
Then recommendations comes in appendix. Then public participation, civic recommendations, yeah. You want to quickly go through it, Sonia?
This one I didn't work on. I don't know if someone who was leading this one wants to just race through it quickly.
Who was that one? Connectivity.
I was, Gabriel
Yeah.
and I were moderating this, and I did not author this part, so I don't know if perhaps Gabriel's on board as
Really,
well.
yeah?
Hello there.
Yes.
Hi, Gabriel. Did you author any of this on this part? We had a great discussion during our session, but this was not included in it.
Yes, well, I could, I've authored a few of the bullet points, but the measuring the SDGs on town level. But the first one there, I don't know who they established a town leader global network.
Yeah, that we know. That we discussed about it earlier, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
one of the key
Yeah.
action items in this whole section.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Then the next one is measuring SDGs. What did you want to say, Gabriel?
This is the concept note that was made between Habitat Norway and Urban Economy Forum, the one I sent to you, Krishnan,
Yeah.
with the intention of measuring the SDGs on town level, and then maybe try to establish a small-scale pilot program based on the concept note.
Okay. That is that's fine. Next one.
And I have to say, with that one, it was very interesting what Juan Carlos Munoz, the way he used the indicators on the
in Chile, yes.
yes. So we should include that one there.
Yeah, fine. Okay, Carlos.
And then the next one, I am not sure who wrote that one.
Critical social investments, create a social investment strategy, templates, or other resources to support socially responsible business with triple bottom lines. Whose idea was this? Is it the Australian participation or is it from the US? I thought Kunal was talking about it. I don't know. B Corp, social enterprises, submitted block. So, but can you say as it is now? It's not controversial. But
I
who
think
will
it's very
create
aspirational, but we just don't have anyone that's accountable.
Yeah, who will create the task forces? Who will create the task group? You know, we don't know yet. To be the TBC or to be confirmed or whatever it is. Yeah.
Yeah, I would perhaps do that to be confirmed or.
Yeah.
I don't think we're there at the moment.
No. So that's fine. Create a model for analyzing, strengthening regional ecosystems for innovation. Part of the World Urban Pavilion. So Is it ecosystem innovation? Whose idea was this one? World Urban Pavilion? Alex?
Yes, let me see here. Yeah, that was what we talked about in my session, which I moderated, and it was to see the innovation ecosystems through the MIT model, which includes government, academia, entrepreneurs, risk capital, and corporations. We afterwards felt it had a very fruitful discussion on how the different stakeholders collaborate differently with each other and where the barriers are. But this is something which is happening in a small scale in Norway, and we would be delighted if Collingwood and UN Habitat and Urban Economy Forum would be a part of this. But this is on a small scale.
So shall we put you as the lead person, or what? The company, is it? Or
absolutely, that's this will happen either way.
Yeah, I think Rosalind had a comment here. Was it this one? Was it in connection to this? I didn't. Can you read? Can someone read from the chat?
I will. There is a
Yeah.
social finance learning group that the Institute is currently hosting in Southern Georgian Bay.
Wow.
Let me know if we could help.
Okay, that's good. So that means we have now a lead person here. Yeah, we can work. Then put the contact person there as well, Rosalind. Yeah. Then further, Sonia.
Oh, sorry, 1 second.
Yeah.
Almost there.
Yeah. Hilda, how are you doing with the time? You're just stretching our
We're
time.
doing well. We still have
Okay.
half an hour and there's only one
Great.
session left.
Yeah,
Thank
yeah. So thank you for all your patience. And so then innovative towns and innovation districts. This is also Gabriel's baby, isn't it?
It is a follow-up from last year. So it would be nice to, I'm not sure if this maybe could be put into the other pilot projects that are recommended, but the innovation towns and innovation, we know that the innovative towns, they're not living isolated, so they have to have connections to the cities. And that was, we talked about also in our sessions. And one way to do this quite practically and to be quite consequent on how to do it is to connect the innovative towns to the innovation districts and urban areas in the cities. So that's
like Victoria, town of Victoria and Brampton also were talking about this. And so I think Victoria, exactly. Brampton.
May I add something? I
Please.
seem to recall from last year's resolution that this item is around sustainable economic development, almost specifically, but I guess you could include anything. But
Okay.
given all the discussions we've had with this summit about what does the new economy mean and what is sustainable economic development, it sounds important to me.
Okay.
Yeah, and I guess I could add in, and Sonia could add in as well. There is an accelerator project in that the town is advancing in Collingwood, and I don't.
Collingwood also, yes, exactly.
This would align. It might align with this action item.
Yeah.
And we also talked about Trondheim and Oslo as well in the context, isn't it, Gabriel?
Yes.
Yes. Trondheim and Oslo. Trondheim, yes. Okay. Gabriel, fine. No E. Yeah.
My wife's name's Gabrielle with an E, so every time I get that far, the E comes at the end.
That's fine. Okay. And so can we go further then? Or are we on
Absolutely.
this innovation?
Thank you so much, Brian, for the good input.
Yes, thank you, Gabrielle. We had a great session.
I'm glad that you both sort of worked, producing, very, very, I think this is important input in this resolution, actually. Thanks. Now we have public participation, engagement. This is the last one, is it?
Yes,
Yes,
it is.
So this is also an most important one in many ways. An important one, I can't say most. The climate and environmental action vision for future, that's principle, yeah? State of environment around the world is deteriorating at an alarming place, and communities experiencing destabilizing effect of climate change in dramatic and costly ways. National policy is important in climate action, and significant action could and should begin at the local level using tools and opportunities that we already have. When we say climate action, climate sustainability include socioeconomic and environmental. Climate and sustainability include social and environment, socioeconomic and environmental, yeah? Environmental factors or whatever it is, anyway, yeah. And then increased efforts in climate and environmental action is needed to reduce greenhouse gas emissions and strengthen resilience and adaptive capacity, including hazards in towns and small cities across the world, integrating measures into national policies, strategies and planning, and improving education, awareness raising, and human and institutional capacity for mitigation, adaptation, impact reduction, and early warning. COVID-19 has highlighted that collective action and change to reduce climate change impact. Collective action and change to reduce climate change. Again, we make it a bit better. Climate action and efforts to reduce climate change impact is possible, or possible. And in recovering from pandemic, there is an exciting opportunity to introduce further measures to tackle climate crisis. Enhancing women and youth engagement and gender empowerment in climate action and environmental emergency. Then economic development and energy sectors. Economic development and innovation should promote the new business opportunities in sectors including renewable energy, conservation, climate resilient infrastructure, electric mobility, public transportation, and low carbon initiatives. This should emphasize that post-COVID-19 development strategies should focus on reducing environmental footprints and promoting low carbon and climate resilient infrastructures and services, meaningful access to nature, renewable energy, conservation, electric mobility, and affordable and clean public transportation for town residents. The opportunities for win-win situations such as creation of jobs rather than environment versus economy. Proactive, collaborative, political and civic leaderships are required to build wider consensus, including policy and fiscal incentives to drive system and behavior changes. There is a dependency upon remodeling habitats to be workable, walkable, and livable, living in harmony with nature and letting natural assets be solutions. Ensuring the creation or enhancement of sustainability departments and enterprise in government, business, and the nonprofit sector, like social enterprise and in the Waterloo region. Is it all encompassing? What people think about this one? Up to K. Is everybody happy with it, or something missing? I feel that the indigenous communities is somehow missing in this thing, because vision for the future we're talking about, as well as traditional knowledge and way of life, and also, as Reza used to say, we need to have a new sort of way of thinking. For example, sort of sustainable livelihood in a way that we consume sustainably, sort of sustainable production and consumption, sort of less is more kind of a principle, yeah. At indigenous and sustainable consumption and production, isn't it? Because we need to reduce waste. There's also a way in which we could, where local communities can indeed, sort of show the way. Communities, I suppose. Yeah. Anyway.
I think some of that is in the next section in good
Okay,
governance and urban collaboration,
okay.
but
Fine.
we'll
Okay.
verify that.
That's
Thank
fine. Great. Okay. Good governance, urban collaboration of inclusive. There should be a partnership between local government and civil society to advance the common goals that are consensus-based for sustainable development. Towns and small cities, in collaboration with local government associations, to work with national governments, global city networks, and intergovernmental organizations to seek innovative solutions to prepare and implement sustainable urban projects. Projects of a similar nature and characteristics can be put together into project portfolios when seeking funding to reduce transaction costs and streamline project application processes. For example, in climate finance applications, yeah?
This is one where I rail against it a little bit. I think, yeah, we can all do that, but I don't understand why the funding pots can't be broken up instead of us having to collaborate in ways that provide risk to towns. So we had a big funding pot in Canada. You couldn't apply unless you had a $10 million request, and it had to be matched 50-50. So you needed a $20 million request.
Mm.
And there's all sorts of climate things we could do that are, we don't have $10 million. And then, so this recommendation says, why don't you all get together and apply together? And I'm saying, well, why don't they split up the pot? So
But when you get the money, you split it up, yeah? I mean, ideally, the cities and municipalities should be able to apply on their own, in their own, because our problem is we are asked to have intermediaries to apply for funds, yeah? That is what they say, oh, you don't have the capacity to apply, you don't have the right format, so you 3 municipalities come together and apply, then go get funding and split it up, kind of a thing. So what do you suggest can we do? Ideally, there should be decentralized, city-specific access to climate funds, yeah? That should be something that we should be asking for. Is that what you're saying, Sonia?
yeah, I'll just type in here what I think it would be. Promote with funding organizations that there be city smaller funding opportunities that are available at the smaller city
town level,
town and Indigenous community levels. If everyone's okay with that. If you disagree, then we can talk about it, but I just felt that there was just as much, we should just be able to apply as we should all have to talk to each other and make it convenient for a national body. It needs to be convenient for the people who are implementing it on the ground.
Okay. Promote with funding organizations, what means we say that we are going to promote this idea with funding organizations, is it?
Right, didn't, if you're okay with.
That's fine, that's okay. But what you're saying is that we are trying to advocate, that's right. That's it. We should explore methods and practices of building stronger local civic ecosystems around community spaces and their networks to make our towns, small cities, and Indigenous communities more cooperative, fair, and resilient. Okay. We need comprehensive detailed collection system for public participation. Collection system. What is that? Collection system? Sort of what's the collection system we're talking about?
Sorry, it was about data collection system.
Data, that's it. Data collection. That's what.
Yes, data has been missed.
Yeah. Okay. So I thought we were going. As we're going through.
And the one right before that, I'm sorry, I didn't notice this till now. It says we should explore methods and practices of building stronger local civic ecosystems. I don't understand this around community spaces.
Because what one is talking about is sort of public spaces. We talk about public spaces. You're able to use it. Availability. Community spaces means it could be parks, it could be walkways or roads or community halls or whatever it is. Is that what we're talking about?
Yes, it is. So perhaps we should change community to public spaces.
Or I could even add public, if that's okay.
That's okay. Exactly. Like somebody was saying that library is not just a library. You see, it could be a public space for other things as well. And then enhancing rural-urban data collection system, enhancing rural-urban linkage in a comprehensive regional approach. Good. And ensuring that decision and policy making is inclusive. What is that? Inclusive of, no, is inclusive of a bottom approach process and not a trickle-down process. Inclusive.
Yes,
Using
at
it.
that session, we meant to say that it's
Yeah.
coming from the bottom up
I
at
know,
the local
yeah.
level.
Yeah, not trickle down from top down. Ensure
Exactly.
public participation irrespective of gender, nationality, legal status, ethnicity, race, or citizens and residents, including migrants, refugees, and minorities. It was something I worked out at the end of the session. I remember. So I suppose it is okay. Not controversial. Then we got examples of good best practices, successful projects, and studies. Good urban governance is a multi-dimensional concept that focuses on improvement of quality of living conditions of local citizens, especially those of marginalized and disadvantaged communities. Cities face various adversities and challenges such as unsustainable use of natural resources, lack of housing and infrastructure, the prevalence of poverty and rapid urbanization, crime, disasters, effects of climate change, and socioeconomic and environmental injustice. So that is that's a statement, yeah. H is sustainable Waterloo region. That's an example is H. What is that we are saying here? These are examples, no?
Yeah, these are examples.
Yeah. Well, first was about Afrocentric. What was that you said earlier? I mean, I didn't get it.
The quote here that you read out is
Yeah.
from this reference that the good urban governance and city resilience and Afrocentric approach to sustainable development.
Oh yeah,
So I
Netanya
just,
Mayer. Yeah, okay.
I just,
Kristen,
yes,
that's
I
fine.
just
Yeah. Okay,
pasted
good.
that as the title,
That's
and then the
fine.
quote.
Lovely. Yeah,
Quote is
that makes the context clear. Good example. Yeah.
Okay.
And then Waterloo, yes. That's fine. Then we go British Columbia Social Procurement Initiative. Examples outside North America relating to public participation and civic engagement. And did you have something from Togo as well? Togo, one of the Togo mayors was saying something, isn't it? Was it a good example that she was talking about? I don't remember. Anyway.
Does anybody remember the example? I wasn't at that session.
Yeah, anyway, I mean.
Maybe just, yeah, we'll put it down and then I can research.
So exactly. So
What was
we
it,
can
the
consult
Tokyo?
there and get your input. With what we're talking about, she has something in a smaller town, how sort of she has managed to get the communities and irrespective of economic status and gender and all. She was explaining it in a clear way. I mean, I suppose we can check with it, yeah.
Okay.
Tokyo?
Do you know who the speaker was?
No, Togo.
Togo. Okay,
Yes.
Togo, Africa, right.
Yes. Lomé, the Lomé Convention, you must have heard about it. Now, that means are we at the sort of extreme?
We have 15 more minutes and we're at the last table.
So it is just my sort of monotonous reading. I mean, we haven't heard anything from many from the people around here, apart from a few comments. Are we all agreeable to the statement so far? Do you want to read through it, Sonia, the public participation part?
These ones on theme 4?
Yes.
I didn't do these. I'd be very happy to read them, but
was it Ilda?
I was in this session. The moderator was Douglas Reagan, but unfortunately he wasn't able to attend this session right now. And then the other moderator was also Phil Prentice. And so both of them were not able to be in the breakout session. So what I can do is just read what's there. And we sort of had a discussion and came up. I think that was from last year's resolution with the leader, establish the leadership, town leaders. And then showcase and amplify best practices at the local, regional, and national level. And these are case studies, include win-win projects and initiatives such as solar energy, green jobs, and innovations to enhance the vital economy and well-being of citizens, and to have and to move forward toward the UN SDGs.
Great. Any comment? I mean, I'm just waiting for a few more minutes for participants to colleagues. I suggest revise consolidated scope of the housing principles. We will, yeah. So Dermot has said that he will come back to us. Any other comments, please?
I'm just wondering on the first action item, we covered that under the third heading, connectivity in the global
Yes.
network.
I think that should be removed
Okay.
Okay.
from
Are
this.
there other comments? There are about 40 people around the table, different parts of the world. Anyone has any comments? I mean, if this is one of the opportunities to sort of be part of the history in making any comments here.
Sonia, I'm just seeing in the chat. Oh, you got it right now. Never mind.
What was that?
Perfect.
I put Dermot's comments right into the document here, and then we'll do the editing later, but we have captured them in the main document. Thank you, Dermot. You didn't have to stay up till dawn
Yeah.
yet.
Yeah, I suppose it is 10 p.m. I think. Yeah, it's
Very
9:45. Yeah, 9:45. Yeah, and thanks, Clement. And any other comments?
Just
Sonia?
chiming in to apologize for not being present today. I got called out.
Oh,
That's okay. Thank you so much for joining us now.
it's never
I
late.
will, I'll look at the transcript when I get a moment.
And can come back to us.
So I
Okay.
guess the next question is, are we adopting the,
Yeah, I mean, the thing is that, I mean, just give some more minutes for people to take a breath and you know, so just to see that if in general agreement, I think we can adopt it as Ilda says. And our colleague from Moscow, does she have any comment? Olga?
I think it's okay. I think it's good.
Okay, great.
Conclusion. Yes, we have
Thanks.
no.
Okay.
Thank
Any
you.
others? Because Rosalind has been active and so if not, I think I would just like to say that it has been a very, very productive session. And what made this productive is because a lot of work that has gone into it before that, you see.
Yeah.
Sort of, you know, systematic, going through the documents before with the sort of, you know, able and insightful people like Sonia and Mayor Saunderson and Shelby. They have been working on this along with Hilda all the way to come to this stage. So otherwise, having a resolution after summit is not an easy task. So even if we resolve to do things, it goes unresolved in many ways. So resolution in a way has been a good sort of a milestone as a follow-up with, as I always say, there's continuity in continuing what we wanted to achieve from last year, and there's change, new things are here now. So I think we have new impetus for creating transformative change. That's become my usual jargon these days. And for sustainability at the level of towns and you know, indigenous communities and small cities. Yeah. So Sonia, do you have any final parting remarks?
I am enthused by the people I've met and the presentations I've seen. Thank you to everybody who spoke and commented.
Thanks, Hilda, for
Thank
your
you.
and Shelby and all the people in the secretariat to do that. And so, as I said, now I will leave the word to. That means we have adopted the draft resolution, while there is still some room for grammatical or editorial changes. And so in a few days' time, this will be more or less be appearing on our website. And you can contact any of us in case, you know, you feel that there have been some factual errors or inconsistencies, which we can't afford to have. So I suppose you can come back to us anytime. That's what is important, you see. It's always to sort of, you know, easy to do this kind of things in an international global document. So we need to make sure that it is consistent, it's correct, and it's not contradictory. And that's why I think you have the possibility for going back and making some changes if necessary. Yeah? Thank you all. Thanks all of you for your patience, and we can be happy that we have gone ahead, and congratulations for adopting the resolution. I think there should be, I don't know, there's no way of clapping hands, but I think we can still do that.
Thank you, Krishnan. Thank you very much.
Thank you,
Thank
Krishna.
you.
Very
Thanks
great
again.
job.
Thanks
Wonderful
again.
job. Thank you.
Thanks again.
Councillor Doherty, you had asked when will the final version of the resolution be made available to participants? The final version will be at our website. So you can definitely then access it through the website. And also, if you have any comments or if there are any additions or changes that you would like to share with us, you can email it to me. And I will put my email on the chat. And most of you all, I've been in contact with everyone at some point, so you do have my email. I'd like to say a great thank you for Krishnan and Sonia to navigate through this very challenging but exciting process of updating and drafting the working document, the resolution. And we are near the end, and we are actually a little early, 4:54. So this is most impressive. I would like to thank everyone who is here, who stayed through the whole process. I know it's a long day, and I really appreciate everyone's commitment to the Collingwood World Summit and our activities. We are now in the closing remarks.